So it's now mid-April, and it's just now beginning to feel here in this part of the Northeast as though winter is over. My poor stranded John Deere 445 spent much of the last 3 months covered in about 4 feet of snow, literally. You could barely see it, during which time a large part of a hickory tree fell right down on top of it. And I was fearing the worst, quite frankly. When I saw it covered in snow and with the hickory right down across it, I was thinking I'd had sustained a lot of damage. Fortunately, I got lucky. The main, and this is a very heavy tree, but the bulk of it came straight down on the seat here. The seat took all the force. So I've ordered a new seat, and the dash did get cracked, so I've ordered a new instrument cluster here. But apart from that, everything is okay. I think I got one crack in the small crack in the hood, but apart from that, she seems okay. So I'm now ready to switch out this engine, the one that seized it back in January, and put in the engine that I built during the winter, a rebuild inside. And so right now I've got the side panels off. Obviously the hood detaches from this frame bar here with 2 bolts. And there I just have to, I loosened up the exhaust shroud here, and now I have to remove this whole front frame here, and that's done with 4 bolts. One's already removed from down there, but I don't know if you can see. Anyway, there are 4 bolts. They're pretty hefty bolts. I left some penetrating fluid on them overnight because they were pretty tight, and we'll see. And then I have to disconnect the electrics, obviously disconnect the radiator, drain the radiator, and then there are 2 mounting bolts, one either side. Release those, and I should have plenty of room when this is all removed and the exhaust is off, just to lift the engine out, and then I can put in the engine that I've reconditioned, and we'll see how it goes. So here goes. So now I've removed the shroud and taken off the exhaust and the air cleaner assembly. So the engine is very accessible now. I can undo, well, first of all I have to detach, drain the radiator, the fluids, and drain the oil, detach the drive back there. I think there's 4 bolts I have to take out, the coupler, and then I can take the 4 mounting bolts. I don't know if I hope those are visible. 1 there, and 2 over the other side. And then I should be able to carefully lift out the engine with the fan assembly still attached. And then switch some of the small ancillaries over, like the starter motor and stuff like that, and get the new engine in. So far so good. So I've now disconnected, I've drained the fluids from the engine and the radiator, so the oil out of the engine and all the coolant, and I have loosened off the 4 engine mounting bolts. Now I'm just struggling to release I think it's 3 bolts on the coupler down there from behind the flywheel, where the drive shaft comes out. Tough to get to, and also trying to hold it in place while I'm putting pressure on the bolts. So I'm trying it from underneath, but it's not easy. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's right up underneath there, and that's the only little problem that's holding me up at the moment. I need to go and get a bar or something, a thin rod, to pass between the drive shaft coupler there to hold it in place, I think, while I put pressure on the bolts and lever them up from underneath to loosen them up. That's the only hitch really so far. Some of the electronic connectors were a little stiff and needed some easing, and but everything else has gone quite smoothly. Just taking my time so as not to make any big mistakes here. So I'll get that off and then get the engine out and be back on. Well, the engine is now out. The 3 bolts on the coupler down there, the drive shaft coupler, I managed to get them out. I did use a rod to keep everything stiff while I was able to get under there and released the bolts, the 3 bolts. The engine mounting bolts were pretty good. Pulling it out wasn't too bad. It's not too heavy. You just have to make sure you've disconnected all the wires. This one wire here that goes to the front of the block, this one was still attached and was giving me some problems until I realized what was going on. But yeah, considering the age of this tractor, the frame is really good. There's no signs of rust or anything, so that's wonderful. The engine, and again, this is all about this having been seized. The reality is it's actually not seized any longer, but that's a good sign, so I'm hoping to do a rebuild on this one. But in the meantime, I'm going to be putting in the engine that I bought to rebuild, and we'll see which one works out to be the best. Got to take off the flywheel and the fan and pulley and all that sort of thing to put on the new engine, and the mounting brackets, and I think the starter motor, a couple of other things I need to do. The starter I have in there, we'll see which is the best. So yeah, engine's relatively clean actually. It was never, I kind of kept this fairly clean as I went, although there are, while it's been standing out here, some chipmunks have been gnawing nuts underneath there or something, but no visible damage, fortunately. Would have been nice if I could have pulled this tractor and put it somewhere near my my barn to take out, or taken it inside, but I didn't want to risk pulling it, because I understand that even with the release on the hydrostatic transmission, when you start pulling them, there's a big risk of damage. So rather than do that, I thought I would just you know, remove the engine and install the new one while it's here. But so now it's about getting the new engine out here, put it together with the ancillaries, and then dropping it in. Hopefully that's not going to be too big a job.